Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Matt L, and I am a full-time Forex trader living in Montreal, and I'm also studying naturopathy on the side. So today we're going to be doing a weekly recap for the first trading week of May 2021, so May 3rd to May 8th. I want to show you guys some of the trades that I did and didn't take, what I learned, and hopefully you guys will be able to learn a little bit about what I look for, what I don't look for, and just some of the things that happened throughout the week. So let's get into it. So I want to start off first off with the first trade that I took this week, which was a short on Euro New Zealand, which was on Tuesday. It was around 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern time that the trade hit. So you can see it was right here, and the reason I took the trade was it was a 61 fib. It was a key level. As you can see here, it was a good key level, 1, 2, 3, and then on the daily it was also the 100 EMA. So there was a handful of confluences, about 3. So it's right here, the 100 EMA. And I have to admit that unfortunately I got stopped out on this trade at negative 25 pips. That's where my stop loss was placed, and I should have watched it. In fact, it was pretty frustrating, but that's what happened, and it could have gone either way. Honestly, with the price action, things were looking pretty bullish right here. And around here is when Yellen's comments came out about the fact that rates will most likely, so that shot things up pretty quickly. And so even the candle afterwards, you can see here with this wick, it was looking bullish. So at a bare minimum, I should have gotten out at break even. I should have had a little bit of a wide stop, but that is life. So lesson learned there. But there was a few confluences there, so it was a solid setup and one that would take again. So we'll go on to the next trade that I took on Euro New Zealand this week, which was on Thursday, I believe, and it was another short. This time it was a 50 fib, and there was a lot of EMAs. So there was all 3 on the 4-hour. There was the 50, which is the red, the 100 being the blue, and 200 being the green. So it was 50 fib, all the EMAs, and then on the daily as well, it was also the 50 EMA just above. So I had my stop there. Now again, unfortunately on this trade, I closed out at break even. What happened was in the morning Eastern time, there was Euro retail sales that came out very strong, and so that's what pushed the pair up roughly 130 pips. So this movement here. And so I was starting to second guess myself. I knew that the tech was quite strong, but I thought maybe it could break through to the 61 fib and then I could take a short from there. So I ended up closing it at break even, and the pair did about 25 pips before coming back up to the entry and then dropping and doing a good 70-ish from here, and then it went lower to about 90. So it was a really good trade. I did play it safe, maybe a little bit too safe. Who's to say? Should I have kept holding it? The tech was strong, so yeah, in hindsight, I mean, it did 25 pips and then it came back to my entry, so there's a good chance that I would have moved myself to break even regardless. It's just one of those trades that is very frustrating, but it happens. So let's move on to pound Aussie. Took 2 trades on pound Aussie this week. One was break even trade, and the other one was a winner. So the first one was this area right here that was the break even trade. So I'll show you the reason why I took it. So it was a simple 38 fib. So it was a 38 fib from this low. If we were to move it up, it was also just below this 50 fib, and if you use this very small fib, it was right around the 61 fib area. So the strongest fib was the 38 fib, but you could use those other confluences as well as additional fib levels. And then on top of it, we had this 200 EMA on the 4-hour, and on the daily, there may have been, it was around here, so yeah, there may have been these 2 fibs as well. So there was definitely a handful of confluences, but the trade was very slow to react. It did about 15-20 pips before coming back down to, as you can see, it reacted to this level, but then it dropped and just hovered for the rest of the New York session. And then with the news, which I believe was Wednesday night, that came out around 11 p.m. Eastern time, that China was increasing restrictions with Australia. There were some tensions rising that weakened the Australian dollar, and so it shot up the pair a fair bit, but from my entry, it had done about 25 or 30 pips of drawdown before moving higher, but I did close that at break even. Then later on in the week, I had this short here that went well. It was a 50 fib with the 4-hour 50 EMA and the 100 EMA, and then for safety, you had the 200 there. And then there was also a retest of this trend line that had formed. So one touch, two touch, and then it broke through, and so it retested. And on the daily, it was also the 50 and the 100 EMA. So I closed part of the position at 30 pips and then 50 pips, if memory serves me correctly. So the trade went on to do 100 pips. So that was a good one. We'll move on to Euro Aussie, where I took one trade. Actually, this trade I did not take, but I considered it. It happened very quickly. This was, again, I believe Wednesday night when the news came out that tension between Australia and China were somewhat escalating, with China imposing some more restrictions. I can't remember the exact details, but if you're interested, you can easily find that. So it moved very quickly. All in all, this spike here that happened with the announcement was almost 100 pips. It was 93, 95 pips. And so this area that I was interested in was this 38 fib. So you had all three EMAs. You had the 38 fib, and it was a key level as well. You have a lot of touches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it was a very strong zone, but the reason why I didn't take the trade is because I didn't know to what degree the market was going to react to the news that came out. So fortunately, I played it safe. The trade would have, if you had a wide enough stop, which ideally would have been above the 61 fib because of the news, you would have wanted it a little bit wider. Fortunately, I didn't take it, but if you did have a wide enough stop, the trade would have worked, and it went on to do from the entry, from the 38 fib, did about 57 pips before coming back up. If you managed to get in just below the 61 fib, then it did a good 70, 85 pips. That's something that I didn't take. I'm happy that I didn't, but it was one of those situations that was difficult to gauge because you had price coming to an area of interest, but with some fundamental news that was hard to gauge to what extent the market was going to react. So I played it safe, and in this case, it worked well for me. On to Pound New Zealand, where I took one trade, which was on Friday. It's pretty straightforward. It was a 38 fib from the top here, with the 50 EMA on the 4-hour, as well as the 800 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So I don't use this EMA all the time. The price doesn't hit it that often, but when it does, it can be a strong confluence. So as you can see here, it reacts quite well to it on this pair. So those were 3 confluences there. It was also key level, so 4. And on the daily, it was, the 38 fib was just below the 100-day moving average. So it was a pretty strong setup that went on to do 110, 115 pips. Lastly, I want to talk about gold. So there was a setup that I was looking at Thursday into Friday, which was the 1815 area, and it was an area that a lot of people were looking at, and I'm going to show you why. So if we zoom out onto the daily chart, what we have, so the 1815 area was the area that I was interested in, and the reason why is you can see that it was a strong key level to start off. We have a touch here, we have some touches here, also right in here, and then here as well. So you had a key level, and also from this very large fib, it was 50 level retracement. And then if you drop this, it was also a 78.6 fib. So you had key level, the fibs, you had about 3 strong confluences. So it was one that I was debating taking, but fortunately I didn't take, as it went on to hit most people's stop losses. The reason I didn't take it was mostly a fundamental reason. You could see how strong gold was pushing right here, and so I wasn't expecting a big reaction, keeping that price action in mind. On top of it, the trade hit Thursday, and Friday was NFP, and it's a very volatile time. It's unpredictable, and so I decided to play it safe because for those reasons. And on top of it, there was no EMAs or moving averages around that area. Price had broken through all of them on multiple time frames, and so I just didn't have a lot of confidence in it, so I trusted my gut on this one, and it fortunately played out. So that's it for this week. As you can see, a lot of the trades that I took are based on Fibonacci levels, moving averages, EMAs, maybe some trend lines, just kind of common technical areas. And I like to keep fundamentals in mind as well, to try and do my best to be in line with these things. So I'm going to be trying to do one of these every week. week. I'll be posting them on Saturday, and hopefully you guys will be able to get some value from it, learn a thing or two about what I look for, why I get into a trade, why I don't get into a trade, and just for entertainment to see how I do week in and week out. So if you've made it this far, I appreciate it. If you got some value, please consider subscribing, liking, and drop me a comment down below. Let me know how you did this week, if you took any similar trades, and what you're looking for next week. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys Saturday. Peace.